In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you how to reprogram your subconscious mind. Now, I'm sure you've seen this image of the iceberg with the tip of the iceberg being the conscious mind and the whole mass at the bottom being the subconscious mind. And the truth is that the majority of how the human organism functions is dictated by the subconscious mind. Think about your digestion, think about your immune system, think about your blood flow, think about your heartbeat, think about everything that is going on behind the scenes underneath the cover of the conscious mind. Because so many times we think that we are rational, we think that we are in control, we think that we're logical, but so much of what is actually determining how we are existing, how we are being, is under the hood. So much is controlled by the subconscious mind. So of course, as this motorbike passes by and I get distracted by it, I bring back my focus to this video and talk about why it's so important that you reprogram your subconscious mind. Because if right now you are not behaving in alignment with how you see yourself as capable of behaving, if there is a gap between your intentions and your behavior, then the reason for this is because your subconscious mind is working against you rather than for you. Now, first of all, what exactly is the subconscious mind? Now, a huge breakthrough for me was when I heard Dr. Joe Dispenza say that the body is the subconscious mind. Okay, think about that for a minute. The body is the same thing as the subconscious mind, and consciously we think in logic, in rationality, in terms of linear thinking, cause and effect. But when we look at the body and the subconscious mind, which are, according to Dr. Joe Dispenza, the same thing, it is functioning based off of emotion, based off how you feel. And Mark Manson, in his new book Everything is Fucked, has an analogy of the consciousness car, right? There's a thinking brain and then there's a feeling brain. And we tend to think that the thinking brain is in charge, it's the one in the driver's seat, but really the thinking brain is sitting in the passenger seat, and the feeling brain, or the subconscious mind, or the body, is in the driver's seat, and it's going ahead and making all the decisions. And the thinking brain is actually going ahead and rationalizing all of those decisions after they are already made. All right, so that is why we are behaving in alignment with how we feel, in based according to how our emotions are. And then only later, once that decision is already made, do we go ahead and rationalize them and justify them with logic and rationality with our conscious mind. Okay, so understand that a large part of the subconscious mind was formed between the ages of 0 to 8 years old. All right, we were very impressionable at that point in our lives. There were a certain amount of situations that took place in regards to our relationship with our parents, with our teachers, with those formative friendships that we formed. A large part of that is actually dictating our behavior to this day in our lives. And Sigmund Freud has a quote where he said that until you make the unconscious conscious, you will allow it to direct your life and you will call it fate. So the key really in reprogramming our subconscious mind is first and foremost to observe what programs are currently running our subconscious mind. Okay, so many times we are experiencing an emotion and then we engage in a behavior that is used to change that emotion. So for example, you might be feeling bored. Okay, bored is the label that we give to an emotion when we are unaware of what is important to us right now. And when we're bored, we might go ahead and put on some pornography, we might go and binge on some TV, we might go and munch on some food. Whatever that destructive behavior is, we take a stimulus from the environment outside of us and we use it to change our internal environment. And the more we do this, the more we associate that the outside can result in a change in the inside, and the more we follow through with engaging in that behavior again and again and again. And of course, your body becomes desensitized to it. So it's like the first time you might drink some alcohol, 1 beer is enough for you, right? That's the first time you ever drank. Then it's like the second time, it's like 2 beers. And the more you do it, the more you do it, the more you go down that slippery slope. Eventually your body has become so desensitized to it that you literally need like a 6-pack just to feel the same effects of that alcohol. And that is the same thing with all destructive habits, because the more we rely on the stimulus to change our internal state, the more we will continue to rely on it and the more we will need it to feel the same effects. Okay, so the key really is in observing why you feel the way that you do. For example, I've been going through a situation in the past where I feel a certain way, and I tend to engage in eating more than I would like. Even when I'm not hungry, I'm like binging on this food. And when I look back at why I'm doing that, it's to distract myself from how I feel in the moment before I engage in that behavior. And the key to rewiring your subconscious mind is to just observe the emotion when it comes up rather than identifying with it, because when you identify with it, then you are that emotion and you are going to behave in a way to either change that emotion, or you will go and behave in a way to distract yourself from it. Like for example, when you eat too much food, you're distracting yourself from how you felt before you ate that much food, whether it's boredom, whether it's whatever other way that you feel uncomfortable feeling. We engage in these destructive habits to avoid feeling that way. And when we do this over an extended period of time, we are suppressing these emotions more and more, to the point where you get at a situation in your life where it's just too much, where you can't suppress it anymore. That is when we have the scenario of the midlife crisis, of like a mental breakdown, of a panic attack, of, you know, I've been reading that suicide is a leading cause of death amongst men in the Western world. And that is crazy to me, because it seems like, based on my hypothesis, that it's like they've spent a lifetime of suppressing how they really feel, of distracting themselves from it, and eventually that emotion is just too much to handle, whereby it is more painful to stay alive and experience that emotion than to just end it all together. And it's a very scary thought when I think about it, because it's a leading cause and it's so many people are going through it. And my intention is just to get clear on why this is actually taking place. I actually had someone in my family go through the situation where it was very unexpected, and you know, the next day his mother found him hanging from the roof in the toilet, and it's obviously a very traumatic experience. Just me, even I didn't know the person that well, but it was my mom's cousin. And obviously the reason that he made this decision was because the pain of staying alive and of experiencing the emotions was higher than, in his mind at least, in his prediction of, you know, actually dealing with the emotion. So dealing with the emotions was harder for him than to just end it altogether. And this is something that is a phenomenon in Western society. Like, so many people are doing this. So why is it? Because the subconscious mind is not working for them. All right, there's all these emotions that are unaddressed that might have been installed in childhood, and the key to functioning in harmony and having those higher emotions of joy, of fulfillment, of passion, of knowing that you're on your path and your purpose in life, is to reprogram your subconscious mind so that it's working for you rather than against you. Okay, now meditation is a huge one. Now, of course, this is a word that means so many different things to so many different people. But when we look at the Tibetan root of this word, meditation, it means to become familiar with. All right, when we are meditating in the Tibetan standpoint, we are becoming familiar with what is going on in our mind. And the more we can observe it, the more we are outside of it, and the more we can act in accordance with our highest values rather than how we feel in the given moment. All right, so for example, when you are feeling a certain way, like when I am feeling like I'm craving something or I need to eat some sweets, then if I can sit in my place of silence and just contemplate why I feel like this, more often than not, it is something that needs to be addressed. And if I can just address the thing, that is something I'm procrastinating on, rather than distracting myself from that thing with food or whatever destructive behavior it is, then the more likely I am to get to the root cause rather than covering it up with a band-aid and distracting myself from that particular situation. Okay, so meditation in this sense, it's like, I've definitely been there where, you know, I spent 20 minutes every single day meditating, and then the rest of the time I wasn't present at all and I was going through the motions, and it's like the meditation became the escape. But if we can shift from that to embodying it and having it as a way of life, whereby we can observe how we are going about things rather than attaching to the things that we're going about, then the more we can act in our most empowered response rather than in our going through the motions and, you know, being at the effect of the environment. So of course, becoming familiar with our programming is the first step to detaching from it and then going ahead and reprogramming it. Okay, so there's like four main brain wave states that go on. There's like the beta wave state, which you are probably in right now. It's a high frequency state whereby you are concentrated on what's going on right now. Even the beta wave has a like there's high wave beta, there's mid wave beta, and there's low wave beta. So depending on the arousal that you're in right now, it's like you're probably in mid-wave beta as you're concentrating on this. So that is like when we're going about things, it's like the analytical mind. It's like logical, it's rational, it is analyzing everything that's going on. Okay, and then a slower frequency than that is the alpha brainwave state, which is more calm, it's more relaxed, it is more concentrated on the present that's going on right now. Then if we slow it down even more, it's the theta wave brain state, and that is like the twilight zone between being awake and going to sleep. All right, it's that twilight zone right in between that state, and that is the state that if we can tap into meditation, it's like the boundary between the conscious and the subconscious mind disappear. Right, if we can tap into that theta brainwave state when we're meditating, then we are more likely to reprogram our subconscious mind with the programs that are serving us rather than hurting us and hindering us from making progress in our lives, right? And this is why Dr. Joe Dispenza recommends, whoa, that guy is going ham on his motorbike. But this is why Dr. Joe Dispenza recommends that you meditate, and the best time to meditate is the first thing in the morning before you wake up, because that is like the twilight zone where you're not really fully awake and you're not really fully asleep, and that is more likely that you will be able to tap into that theta brainwave state and reprogram your subconscious mind. Okay, the first thing in the morning, you're in that you're more likely to tap into that theta brainwave state, and the last thing before you go to sleep, like those two zones. I've been practicing this for the recent 1 month or so at this point. If you can implement your meditation practice and go ahead and first of all observe, right, and become familiar with the programs that are going on in your mind, the boundary between conscious and subconscious are blended, you're more impressionable during that time, and then you can go ahead and use your conscious mind to reprogram the vision, the ideal reality that you have for yourself into your subconscious mind, so that you can behave in ways that is in accordance with that. Okay, that is a very powerful method, and if you do that every single morning and every single night before you go to sleep, then that will be a huge aspect of it. All right, so obviously step one is to become familiar with your current patterns. Yeah, I'd be selling ice cream out here. And then step two is to understand the Sanskrit standpoint of meditation, which is that of contemplation. All right, of creating yourself in the way that you see is best in harmony with your ideal vision. All right, so when we can tap into that theta brain state, we are able to observe what's going on, and we are able to see the lines between the conscious and the subconscious mind blur. And then we can tap into the Sanskrit way of meditating, which is to contemplate that future ideal vision that you have for yourself. And the more you can tap into that while you're in the theta brain state, the more you can rewire your subconscious mind, the more you can have the experience in the internal leading to an emotion rather than the external leading to an emotion, the more you will step into the quantum creator standpoint rather than the Newtonian model of reality, which is of cause and effect, whereby something outside leads to a change inside. You can go ahead and experience the change on the inside and then have the changes on the outside. All right, and that is really the essence of being a quantum creator in your reality, rather than being the victim of your reality that is reacting to external circumstances. And you can tap into creating your external circumstances by your state of being that you have reprogrammed into your subconscious mind. So I've gone about a lot in this video, and it's just a free flow because this is always stuff that I'm working on myself. But ultimately, just understand that meditation is, in the Tibetan standpoint, to become familiar with the subconscious programs, right? Because when we're in the program, then it's very hard to break out of them, because we are in the program, we're feeling a certain way, then we act based on that. And when we can become familiar with it, we're outside of it. That's step one. And then step two is to get into it and contemplate and rewire your subconscious programs based on your ideal vision and how that makes you feel, so that you can behave in ways that is in alignment with your future ideal vision. All right, so become the observer of your thoughts. Realize that you are the observer of your emotions. You are not your emotions, because if you think you're your emotions, you will act in alignment with them. But when we have that observer standpoint, we can act more objectively in alignment with what we want rather than with how we feel. So with all that being said, if you can implement the practice of tapping into those theta brainwave states first thing in the morning and last thing before going to sleep, the more you will reprogram your subconscious mind and make it function in a way that gets you what you want in life. This has been Saleem. I hope I didn't ramble on too much for you, and I hope that you implement this stuff. If you need any help at all, leave a comment below and tell me about your meditation practice right now, and I will offer you any help that I can. I'll see you in the next video, man.